Hey there, nerdpreneurs! Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you being here. If you've been following us for a while, then welcome back to the nerd side. And if this is your first time listening, then hi, I'm Amanda Goldman-Petrie, but you can call me AGP. And I'm an internationally renowned Work Smarter, Not Harder online marketing coach and founder of the popular website, web TV show, and podcast, Markets Like a Nerd, where we geek out about business and marketing strategies that maximize your profits while minimizing your efforts. And today we are talking about how to implement faster, because all this week in the Balanced Entrepreneur Facebook group, it's a free Facebook group I run, we've been talking about strategies to work smarter, not harder. And so far this week, I've talked to you about leverage, I've talked to you about automation, and the third real key to working smarter is delegation. So I want to go into more detail about that today. So each day in the Balanced Entrepreneur Facebook group, I share these daily tips. And today's tip was delegation increases your speed of implementation. So let's dive a little deeper into that. And if you want to get access to these tips in the future, you can join the group at marketlikeanerd.com/invite. It's a great group. But delegation increases your speed of implementation. That was today's tip. Let's go a little bit further into that. The reason why I want to talk about this specifically is because a lot of business coaches and marketing coaches out there will tell you that you should be delegating. But the reason why they say to do it isn't really congruent with my beliefs. I believe it's, for a much different reason. A lot of business and marketing coaches will say, you should be delegating because you should be focusing on revenue generating activities, right? It's such a popular saying. It's like a phrase that just like every business and marketing coach just regurgitates. You should be delegating because you should be focusing on revenue generating activities. And, making money is great, but that's not what you should actually be doing. In reality, you got into this business to do what you love. You got into this business to serve people. And so that's what you should be investing your time in. Saying that you should be delegating to focus on revenue generating activities comes from a lack mindset. It comes from the fear of being broke because you're not spending enough time looking at your money, right? So rather than looking at delegation from that standpoint of a lack mindset, I recommend that you look at it as a way for you to be able to spend more time doing the things that you actually got into business to do, doing the things that you love, that light you up, being able to serve people, being able to serve your clients. Sales is not the first thing you should be doing every morning. Taking care of your clients is the first thing you should be doing every morning. And delegation allows for you to do that, to do those things you love, to serve your clients at a much higher level. And there are two key reasons why. Number one, delegation allows for you to make more money and get more done with less effort. If you really want to scale your business, that's what it's all about. It's about making as much money as you can with as little effort as you can, right? And delegation allows for you to decrease your effort and put that effort on someone else's plate. The second reason why delegation allows for you to do that, to scale with less effort, is it increases your speed of implementation. And the faster you implement, the more successful you will be, right? So your success is directly related to your speed of implementation. One of the reasons I've been so successful so quickly is because I implement so fast. So here are my 5 tips for being able to implement faster by leveraging delegation. Okay, so the first one is, we're just gonna dive right in. So tip number 1 for implementing faster by leveraging delegation is, if there is a task that is going to come up again or is going to reoccur, even if it's, just like once every quarter or once every year, you wanna make a system for it. An SOP, a standard operating procedure, along with some templates. And actually I want to say it was an hour ago, I posted on my Facebook, my personal profile, about how excited I was because I just started doing a ton more SOPs in my business for some new things that we've been doing. And instantly I already feel so much better because my assistant, Quay, he was able to actually go and do the work. He read the SOP and he was able to go do the work without me having to do anything. I didn't even have to delegate it to him. He read the SOP and he was able to go get going. So that's the power of operating procedures and templates and setting your team up for success. I also recently hired a publicist. And the publicist was just so wowed at the SOPs and the templates and everything that I had in place to make her job easier. Normally, it takes a week or two for her to onboard her clients and get started with her clients. And I actually hired her, I think it was on Monday, and she was able to start on Tuesday because we already had so much in place. I went through and I created a written procedure. Like step by step. Step 1 is this, step 2 is this, step 3 is this, step 4 is this, all the way to like step 25 for her for booking podcast interviews for me. We want to do 100 podcast interviews in 90 days. So she's got to book me on 100 podcast interviews. So I made a written procedure of all of those steps that she has to take to be able to do that, to be able to book me on all of those interviews. And then I had templates for the pitches that I've been using. I had a spreadsheet where we have been tracking all of the podcast interviews. And then I even did a video, so not just written, I did a video recording of myself going through the SOP, going through the templates, going through the spreadsheet. So she knew exactly what I had in place. She knew exactly what my questions were. If there was anything that I wasn't sure what to do in the SOP, I highlighted that and asked her input, right? But everything was really, really organized and explicitly stated and laid out for her. So within 24 hours, she was able to start getting into work, all right? So that's how powerful operating procedures are. I highly recommend, if it's going to come up again, if it's going to reoccur in any frequency, get some standard operating procedures and some templates in place to set your team up for success. That's going to allow for them to go and dive in so much faster. Remember, this is about going faster. Don't make your team wait 2 weeks to get started. Get them started really, really quickly because they know everything that they need to know to dive in. So that's number 1, get your operating procedures in place when something's gonna come up again. Number 2 is automate the pieces of the system that can be. So for example, when I was going through creating all of those operating procedures, there are some emails that need to be sent. Like when I do my vlogs, for example, my web TV show, that was another operating procedure I was doing. After I create my videos for it, I've got to hand it off to my video editor so that he can go and edit it. And then he's got to hand it off to Design Pickle so they can create the video thumbnail for it. And so there's these parts of the procedure where we've got to hand things off to other people. And normally that would be done through a manual email where we're, emailing team members and saying, here's this, go do this. And we're just regurgitating the instructions over and over and over again every time the task comes up, but manually. And I was looking at it and I said, that's so inefficient. I don't want to have to send the same email every single time manually. It's annoying. What if I can automate this? So I set up a form. And I went into my WordPress site, I used the Gravity Forms plugin for this. I went into Gravity Forms and I set up a form where I could input the directions for the video editor. And then Gravity Forms would automate out the email with the same regurgitated instructions I give every single time to the video editor. So I say, okay, here's the file. So in the form, I put in the file. In the form, I put in, which call to action I want in the video. In the form, I put in any other additional comments that I have for them for the video. And then Gravity Forms actually takes those fields, puts it into an email where I've already pre-populated the email with the instructions for the video editor, and it sends it off to the video editor. When he's done, he has a form that he's going to fill out that gives the file link for the video and the title of the vlog episode. And then when he fills out that form, there's another email where those form fields get populated into an email with the same instructions that I give to Design Pickle every single time for creating video thumbnails. And that email gets sent off to Design Pickle automatically without me having to send an email. So they're just filling out forms, and Gravity Forms is sending the instructions for me, right? So now I have significantly less work to do in terms of delegation, and those manual emails, the manual instructions I was having to give over and over and over again, I've now automated. Okay, so number one was get operating procedures and templates in place for anything that's going to reoccur in your business. Number two was when you create that SOP, see if you can identify places where you can automate, and then automate pieces of that procedure whenever possible. My third tip is to hire specialists or full-timers. Okay, remember this is about speed of implementation. And I know that full service agencies are very popular. I actually used to run one of my own. And what I've discovered in terms of getting things done faster is that specialists, hey there, specialists are typically going to get the job done a lot quicker because they don't have to ask as much questions. They don't need as much training. They're a specialist in that area. So, for example, with my podcast interviews, remember I just told you that I hired a publicist. I actually had this conversation with myself. I said, you know, I've got this SOP, I've got these templates. I could so just hire, you know, like a $500 a month assistant from the Philippines and, you know, teach her how to do it. And, you know, that would save me money, but it would take a long time to teach them. And then I thought about it and I said, you know, I could do that, or I could just go hire a publicist who already knows all of this stuff and who probably can do even better pitches than what I would do, and who can take my SOP, take the start of my templates, and then just roll. You know, I don't need to teach them anything. I don't need to touch anything because the SOP is in place and they're a specialist in this. And that's what I did. And already we have 13, I believe it is, podcast interviews scheduled. We've only been doing it for a couple days. And she was rolling in 24 hours. So I didn't have to teach anything. I just had to get the SOP and hand it off because she was a specialist. She knew how to do it. So specialists and full-timers. Again, this is about speed of implementation. And what I have found is when you hire part-time virtual assistants or part-time help, usually they have tons of other clients. And so you're kind of trying to fit into their schedule, right? And that means that they're trying to balance you with other clients, and that means you're not first priority. It means you're going to have to wait for them to be done with other clients, and it means they're more likely to be disorganized, be late, have communication issues, versus hiring a full-timer who's 100% dedicated to you. And even if you don't have full-time work, whenever you have a task, you can shoot it off to them and they'll immediately be able to dive into it, right? So this is about speed of implementation, and if they're specialists, they don't need to be trained so they can get into it a lot faster. And if they're a full-timer, they're 100% dedicated to you, so the moment you give the task, they can go and get started. And if you're a little worried about hiring full-timers, I encourage you to look at onlinejobs.ph. It's a network to find virtual assistants in the Philippines who are very affordable, but also very good at what they do. So I've been going on there all the time recently, and hiring podcast editors, video editors, social media marketers, all these types of people. And I think the max amount that I have seen in terms of pay range has been like $1,000 or $1,500 a month for a WordPress / Infusionsoft person. Most everyone else has been less than that. So you can get really great people who are dedicated 100% to you, who are even oftentimes specialists in what they do, at a very affordable rate at onlinejobs.ph, okay? So number one, get SOPs and templates in place. Number two, automate the pieces of your systems that you can so that your delegation goes faster. And number three, hire specialists or full-timers when you can. Number four would be to create and clearly communicate your goals or specific target deadlines when you are delegating. Because remember, this is about speed of implementation, and if you want something done quickly, you need to communicate that. And don't just say, hey, can you get this done really quick? You gotta give them a specific deadline, as something specific that they're working towards. So when I hired my publicist, I didn't just say, hey, I wanna get a ton of podcast interviews, and can you make that happen, in a snap? No, I said, hey, I want to get 100 podcast interviews. Can you get that for me in 90 days? I was very, very specific. All right. So that's what you want to look into doing when you are delegating as well. Give people deadlines. Give people really specific goals. It's not just, hey, can you edit my vlogs? No, it's, can you edit one vlog a week? I'll give it to you on Monday. Can you get it back to me on Wednesday? Right? You want to get as specific as possible so you can get into routine, they can get into a routine, the expectations are clearly communicated, and you both know what you're working towards. That's going to light a fire under their belt to get it done in a timely manner. Now, I also like to actually give people, I like to kind of reduce my timeline, where if I want it done in 7 days, I'll say, hey, can you get it done in 5 days? I really want it by 7 days, but I'm gonna say 5 days. That way, just in case they're late, that's fine. I got it by my actual deadline. So, my vlog editor, for example, I'll say, hey, can I have this by Friday? But really, I want it by like Wednesday. Or I'll say, hey, can I have it by Wednesday? But really, I want it by Friday. So if they get it to me on Thursday, that's okay. I still got it by the time that I actually wanted. Okay, so number one, SOPs and templates. Number two, automation. Number three, specialists and full-timers. Number four, clearly communicate your goals and deadlines. Be as specific as possible when you're delegating. If your team is coming back with things late, if your team is coming back with things incorrectly completed or incomplete, then take a look at yourself in the way that you're delegating, the way that you're communicating, because you're probably not being specific enough. You're probably not communicating as effectively as you could be to your team. And number five is to encourage cross-team communication so that your team members can support each other rather than continuously coming to you for support. So in my business, there's a lot of moving parts, right? I do podcasts, I do vlogs, I do Facebook Lives. I have a ton of content. I have a ton of Facebook groups. We have a jam-packed promotional calendar. We have funnels that we run. So we have all this stuff that we're doing, which means that I have copywriters, I have video editors, I have podcast editors, administrative assistants, social media marketers, a salesperson, all these people who are helping me in my business. And there are points in the processes where they have to hand things off to each other, or they have to communicate with each other. And I have to make it as easy as possible for them to do that, for them to hand it off to one another, and for them to communicate and support each other. So the way that I do that is I have a project management system. It's called Zoho, so Zoho Projects. I found if you're not techie, you don't really like Zoho. A lot of the non-techie people like things like Teamwork or Basecamp, which I hate. I'm techie, so I like Zoho, I'm just warning you. But Zoho Projects is a project management system where you can essentially store all of your SOPs, all of your passwords, all of your team members, all of your tasks, your to-do lists, all in one place. And then because all of your team members are in there, they can communicate with each other. So we have task templates that just auto-populate every time we have to redo a task. So for example, when we do an edit of a vlog, there is a task called vlog editing. And underneath of that task are all of these subtasks for vlog editing. Step 1 is Amanda gives you the vlog. Step 2 is Amanda fills out like a form. Step 3 is you do the video editing. Step 4 is you get a video thumbnail from the designer. Step 5 is they hand that off to the person who's going to schedule it in the newsletter. And so there's like all these subtasks, and some of them are for the designers, some of them are for the editors, some of them are for the copywriters. But whenever we have a vlog, we open up that task, it pre-populates all of that, those subtasks. So we know, we have the procedure there every single solitary time. And then because everyone is in the project, when the task comes up for graphic design, for example, we just assign the graphic design person. When the task comes up for the newsletter person, we just assign them the task. We assign that task to the newsletter person. And it's all written in the SOPs so they know what they're supposed to be doing to communicate each other. When possible, you also provide templates for how they can communicate with each other. So if the video editor is gonna typically have to communicate with the graphic design person, give them an email template that they can use when they talk to that graphic design person. So it's so much easier on your team to communicate with each other. You've got to support them in being productive with each other. Okay, so those are the 5 tips, and I've got another bonus one for you in a second. If it's gonna reoccur, get an SOP or a template. Automate the pieces of your systems that you can. Hire specialists and full-timers when you can. Clearly communicate specific goals and deadlines. Be as specific in your delegation as possible. And 5, encourage cross-team communication, specifically through a project management system if you can. And then my bonus tip for you is to treat your team really well and make sure that they enjoy working with you, because the more that they enjoy working with you, the better of a job they're going to do, the more loyal they're going to be. When you can really, nurture a relationship that leads to loyalty within your company, you're going to have people who want to get things to you on time because they want to keep you as a client. I have contractors of mine who, by all accounts, they've learned so much from me that they could go off and fill their roster full time and just leave me in the dust. But they stay with me because they love working with me, because I teach them, because I treat them well. If I have a contractor who I assign something to them on Friday, and they message me back and they say, oh, okay, maybe I can try and get this to you tomorrow. And they're anxious because they want to get it to me as quickly as possible, but it's going to be a weekend. So they don't actually want to do it. They just want to help me. I'll reply back and I'll say, no, we don't work on weekends. Get it to me on Monday or Tuesday. It's fine. I'm just sending it to you because I want you to have it. Don't rush. It's okay. Monday or Tuesday, enjoy the weekend. So my value in my life is balance. My value in my life is happiness, which means I can't expect my team to put their happiness and their balance, to sacrifice that for me. I've got to align my values with the way that I am delegating and communicating with my team members. And that's going to create a special relationship where my team members know they're supported by me. My team members know that I genuinely care about them as people. My team members know I'm going to treat them well. And so because of that, they're going to want to get things to me quickly. They're going to want to make me happy. They're going to want to continue the relationship, because we're not just employer and contractor or employer and employee. We're friends. We're a unit, okay? And so that's gonna really nurture faster, better results, all right? So those are your 5 tips and your bonus tip for today. That's all I have for you today. That's my nerd wisdom about how to implement faster through delegation. Now, if you enjoyed this Facebook Live, then I encourage you to go ahead and listen to our Market Like a Nerd podcast, where we're going to be sharing all next week more tips about how to delegate more efficiently, how to hire your team, and I'll even give you an inside look at the actual team members who are supporting my own online empire. That's something that most people closely guard because they don't want their team members to outgrow them, because they don't want people to steal their team members. Honestly, again, I love my team. I want to spread the word about them. So if that means that they, go on to greater things, serving greater people, then, all the power to them. I want to serve you as well. So if I really believe in someone, I want to share them with you. So if you go to bit.ly/market like a nerd, that'll take you to the Market Like a Nerd podcast on iTunes, where you can listen to the existing episodes we have, as well as the ones all next week about delegation. All right, so I hope to see you on there. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it.